Good morning and welcome. As president of the Center for Innovation, I would like to welcome you to our opening day of our FAR Forum. This annual event gathers leaders from around the world to discuss innovation in the design and construction industry. Over the past year, the Center of Innovation has rebranded, but we haven't lost our passion for sharing, for stories of innovation about people, about process, and about the planet. Our mission remains the same. We are dedicated to improving the built environment and inspiring innovation. We have a rich library of past events that you can find on YouTube, and I'm happy to announce that we also create podcasts of our webinars that you can find wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Again, thank you all and to all for who inspire us every day in their stories about innovation. Our forum does take place over the next 3 days. It's sponsored by Bosch. We are grateful for our continued support from Bosch for these events, and thank you. Our topic today is a very moving one: the Ukraine, living under siege while planning for peace. At the Center for Innovation, we wondered, how have Ukrainians in the design and construction industry responded to the immediate challenge of designing and building while at war? And we wondered, while under siege, how are design construction leaders planning for peace? It's a heady and difficult topic, and we're grateful for those in Ukraine and exile for joining us. Today, I'm honored to introduce Baris Lostuvali of Pankow Builders. Baris, like so many of us, watched the Russian invasion of Ukraine in late February of this year. Baris, who will now moderate a conversation with two Ukrainian leaders discussing how they continue to build and to design during war and while planning for peace. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Baris. Again, welcome, Baris, and thank you for joining our webinar today. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Good morning, all. Good afternoon, all. Good evening, all. I believe we have an audience reaching out to us globally. It's my honor, it's my pleasure, it's my privilege to be moderating this panel. We have two very valuable panelist speakers for the topic. Before I turn into our speakers, let me just say that, as we all know, the universe is unfolding. The universe is unfolding to us maybe more rapidly, more intensely the last few years. One morning we wake up, it could be the global health crisis, COVID. One morning we wake up, it's the climate change. One morning we wake up, it's the social uprising. So the changes, rapid changes is intensifying, is coming from every direction. For my friends in Ukraine, as again, born, raised in Turkey, been in the States for about 20 years, they woke up to a new reality on February 24th. A reality where the world was shocked by the Russians invading Ukraine, that nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that they were there to cross the line and shock the world. What happened, though, it was the Ukrainians inspired the world after that shock point. And we are here to hear from Serhill, who has been in Kiev since day one, has lived under siege, and has been in operation working with the leaders of Ukraine since day one. And we also have Tetiana, who has gone through the first part of Ukraine invasion, who's currently calling in from UK. Again, with further ado, I'm just going to pass the ball to these two amazing, inspiring people. And one thing they told me very clearly as we were prepping for this, make sure we make it an interactive conversation. Please, please put your questions, comments in the chat box. So Margie and I will be popping in and out. We'll be interrupting their flow. Serhill, Tetiana knows how to deal with disruption, but we want to make it as lively as possible. This is a topic that is so much inspiration. There's so many layers for all of us to learn as this rapid change is happening more frequently, more intensely. And thanks for Stuart and Center for Innovation for the opportunity. So with that, I'm passing on to Serhill and Tetiana. Guys, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your deep roots with lean thinking, and everything else. All yours, guys.
Thank you, Baris. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here, and we are happy to share our stories. I kindly ask Tetiana to start the story from the point of view of situation before the war. We were really happy in our beautiful country. We were running Lean Institute Ukraine. It's a leading institution in our country for development of the companies, process optimization, and also lean construction introduction for the Ukrainian construction companies. Please, Tetiana, tell us the beginning of this story. We all have the big background in lean in our countries, but we also happy to share some innovation portions of our activities also in Ukraine. Please, Tetiana.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank once again to Baris and to Dean and to Stuart and to all your team for organizing this meeting and this conference for us to raise the awareness about the Ukrainian situation, about war in Ukraine. For us, it's very important because we are still having our war, and it's not getting any better for now. Unfortunately, it's just new waves of Russian invasion. Unfortunately, and just to tell some words about Ukraine, like what country we used to have. Ukraine is a country in the middle of Europe, with it's the seventh most populated country in Europe. So you can see it on the map. Actually, Ukraine was pretty good developing country. So after moving to Europe, I realized that actually we had a pretty good economical situation in Ukraine, and we had pretty good life comparing to life in some countries. So yeah, we are in really good situation. And Lean Institute Ukraine, our company, was doing a lot to develop Ukrainian companies and to make them more advanced in lean methodology, in innovations that are coming from Europe and from USA. And we were doing it by including in our life very important people from lean community like John Shuk, like Peter Vilas. Peter Vilas is a coach of Lean Institute Ukraine and of Serhill for many years. He's helping us still a lot. And also Cevdet Oztunc, he's a Turkish consultant of Turkish Lean Institute. He's also helping us a lot by helping us in construction projects, for example, by helping us in other projects, and by joining our conferences. So we had a very good conference, very important for us, for Ukrainian community, with John Shuk. That was actually the day when I completely decided to come to Lean Institute Ukraine, and that was persuasive event to me to make me start my journey in lean consulting. So I was trying to talk to him many times to make me a lean consultant. Yeah, so we had this forum with John Shuk, and it was a huge impact on Ukrainian companies that really decided to start their lean journey and to develop. And it was amazing to observe through these years how people change, how their management styles change, how companies change. So Lean Institute Ukraine really, with the help of these great people, coaches like Peter Vilas, like John Shuk, like Cevdet Oztunc, and many others, we did a great journey for Ukrainian companies, and they started to develop very big, with very big speed. So this is what we had, and then in one day, on February 24th, our life changed in 1 second. So we all woke up with news that Russia started the invasion of Ukraine, started war, and that's how our life changed. So we appeared in another reality. So first of all, a lot of people lost their houses, their apartments, their homes during this 7 months of war, and they are still losing. So Russia is shelling new and new cities every day. People are still losing their houses, their apartments. a lot of people lost everything like in one day. My friend from Kharkiv lost her new apartment, which she has just bought like 1 week ago before war, and just moved 2 days before war. They were making a celebration in new apartment, and then she sending me picture. Look, my apartment is gone. Some people lost their houses, and they are trying to rebuild them now. They are trying to get some funds for this and to get support of government. So this is one of the tragedies that really happened to many people in Ukraine. That's why it's super important for us to find these connections with innovative construction methodologies that can help people to rebuild their houses faster and with better layouts, with more protected buildings. Also, a lot of people had to relocate to other regions, to safer regions of Ukraine, or to other countries, like myself. So yeah, people started moving. Some people, for example, me, I stayed 2 weeks in small city near to Kiev, hoping that somehow this war will finish. So I was actually, like many people, hoping that somehow Europe, USA will like influence Russia and interfere. So we were naive. Yeah, so first 2 weeks I spent in a small village, and then I decided to move because situation was getting worse every day. It wasn't getting any better. I put some pictures of my trip from Kiev to Poland. My first country which I entered was Poland because it was the closest to border. So, and you can see my daughter. This is my daughter. She's eating. This is a train station of Lviv. At night, we just arrived to train station. It was super cold, and they let inside only women with children. So we were waiting for morning to come because it's a curfew, and at night it's not possible to move anywhere. So we arrived by train at night. Here you can see the queue near to train. So it was like we left the train and it was simply impossible to move. Then we waited till morning to get the bus to Poland to cross the border. It was super terrifying and exhausting journey because the journey that normally takes 6 hours from Kiev to Lviv by regular train took me 15 hours in a complete. We were not allowed to use phones. We were not allowed to put some lights on. Because Russia was shelling all this way long, so we didn't know what can happen the next moment. And when I was choosing how to go, I was thinking maybe I should go by bus or maybe I should go by car. But then I decided that maybe in train I have more chances. So we decided to go by train, and we just took the first train that came to station. So when I was leaving Kiev, I didn't plan anything. So I just came to train station, and the first train that came was to Lviv. So I just took this train to Lviv. That's how we escaped. And then after this, we moved to Poland and then to UK. So now me and my daughter, we live in UK. A lot of my friends also moved with children, especially women with children. Actually, they didn't really have a lot of choices because at the beginning of war, it was super scary to stay there. And nobody knew what will happen next moment. So we just left, and with hope that we can cross the border. I think that you know that many people were killed on their way to border. So with even though they put some marks on the cars that there are children in cars, Russians were just simply killing them without any compassion. That's what happened. And also, if it comes to lives and businesses, a lot of people saved their lives, but they lost their children, like their businesses that were their children. So this picture is, it means a lot for us because it's a picture of one of factories of our clients. So this is a factory, this is a company called Kaiman. It was located in Kharkiv, the city that suffered a lot from Russians. And the owner of this factory just joined the new program called USAID. So he will tell later more about this program. It's a program, it's fundraising program that is helping Ukrainian factories to relocate to new regions, to train their people, to plan new layouts. So he just joined this program, and we were making new layout for him. We were consulting with him and with his partners to move him to Kiev region because it was already safe at that moment. So we had a lot of plans, and then one day he's just calling and canceling the meeting, and he's telling, guys, I'm sorry, but I cannot join the Zoom meeting that we scheduled because my factory was just bombed at night. So I don't have any factory. And then we had with him a Zoom call later that day. And the man that was really very optimistic, like when we started this program and we started planning his new layout in new place, he was smiling, he was very optimistic. So he had really hope to relocate and to continue his business. And that man, he was simply crying at that Zoom call. So for me, it was super, how to say, like heartbreaking seeing so strong person to cry, because really we had some talks with him, and he was like, I couldn't believe it could happen in 1 second. And his factory was destroyed completely, so he couldn't save any raw material, any goods, any equipment. It was like zero. And now he's talking, like through this program, USAID, he's talking with some American partners that will hopefully help to buy new equipment. And he even started talking with some competitors, because this factory is producing the isolating tape, and he has some technology that is interesting for competitors. So maybe they will create new company, like new partnerships that will help them to survive. So it's also one of things that happened to many factories in Ukraine. So many people lost their businesses that they created for years, and they were working on it for years. And if we talk about Ukrainian economy and Ukrainian companies, so some statistics is that 57% of Ukrainian companies have these operations. Exports have decreased by 50% from February till now. So all companies also face this decrease. And as of September, 5.5 million people left Ukraine as refugees, and around 7 million relocated inside the country. So many people moved from Kharkiv, for example, to safer regions, because it's been shelled all the time. From Donetsk, from Lugansk, from Kherson. So from these cities that are influenced the most, they move to other regions. We have big problem with unemployment, unfortunately, because many companies, as I told, lost their businesses. So this is what is happening. Also, if we talk about how companies are surviving and are managing this situation, some main issues come. For example, the issue of leadership. So not each company managed to cope with this new stress and to cope with this new situation. And we really saw that huge corporations that seemed to be very stable, very safe, they simply left employees without nothing. So just telling them, okay, guys, you are now free from March. Like people lost their jobs in 1 second. Some companies didn't even pay people February salary. So just leaving people in the middle of the war without even last salary. So also the problem is to relocate operations to safer territories. So it's the problem to create new processes, to quickly teach new people, because a lot of people left. This is a problem that is a huge one for many of our ex-clients and for existing clients, because they lost a lot of experienced staff, and they cannot replace them very fast. So this is also one of the problems that is that raised during this month. And actually, when we started talking with our ex-clients and with our existing clients, we talked about leadership. And for me, one of examples that I always tell them is actually example in our own company in Lean Institute Ukraine. Because we one of things that we saw as employees, because I'm employee of Lean Institute Ukraine, was leadership that Serhill showed us as the president of Lean Institute Ukraine in the beginning of war. So first hours when we just woke up, we were messaging in our WhatsApp group. We have WhatsApp group for communication, and the first thing that he told us was, guys, just stay safe, just try to move to safe place. Everything is okay. You will have job, you will have salary, don't worry about this. So it was first thing that he told us, just to make us to make us feel safer. And then when everybody was moving, so somebody was relocating to other regions, I was moving abroad. So first month and a half, we were just moving and doing, like, creating our new routine. And then what was Serhill doing? He was telling us all the time that we will save our company, we will save our jobs. Don't worry, you will not be unemployed tomorrow. And for me, it meant a lot, because in the middle of all this panic, when I didn't know what to do, and because I didn't have any plan, like to which country I should go, where I should stay, what I should do, how should I create my routine. So same for other people. In the middle of this chaos and panic, this thing, that the understanding that I still have my job, that at least something from my stable life and from my routine, it is still existing in my life. So I have something to lean on, something to keep, to hold. It was very, very important for me, because it was really the thing that helped me to survive this stress, because it was like everything was shaken, everything was very unstable. And in deep in my heart, I understood that consulting, like the things that we are doing, is one of most vulnerable spheres, because I understood that in the middle of war, companies will not order consultancy, and they will not ask us, guys, come please to coach us, because they are all trying to survive. So I was understanding that it's this is a big deal for Serhill to keep us and to tell us this safe, so we are safe. So for me, it meant a lot. So I understood, actually we saw this same behavior when COVID started. So actually we also were scared, but war is not COVID. So we understood that there is something in this world worse than COVID and all this crisis. Yeah, so it was very important example of leadership I saw. We all saw, and it was a huge help. So I was comparing myself with other people that were working in huge corporations and telling me, Tanya, they were calling me and telling me, Tanya, we lost our jobs. We are just now going to Poland. We will work as I don't know, like cleaners or whatever is the job. So people were ready to do anything because they didn't have any savings. I was thinking, okay, but I'm working in such a small like startup, and we are still having our job, so we are still in good situation. And this is a story which I tell to companies, to our clients, because this is things that people appreciate. So if the company is telling you, okay, guys, we don't know what to do with you, you are unemployed from tomorrow, then this person will not come back to this company when the situation gets better. But we saw different situation. So yeah, and now I will pass the word to Serhill to continue.
Thank you, Tetiana, for these kind words that were 100% planned. Thank you very much. Guys, once again, thank you for this opportunity for us to present our point of view. Of course, we are really happy to have our leader, President Zelensky, and it inspired behavior of so many people, also leaders in different spheres: construction, designing, manufacturing, planning, and with all those examples of proper leadership behavior, it helped us to continue our journey even in these terrible situations. Baris asked me to say a couple of words of the leadership within Ukraine in this terrible situation, to show as an example how we can behave in some worst scenarios. And it was really interesting when we analyzed, because I have some meetings with my colleagues from other institutes within Ukraine, and it's interesting where the resilience came from. What is the secret of our activities, of our war power in this particular situation? But frankly speaking, we were not prepared. I mean, the leadership, of course, from the military point of view, from all other management point of view, but each individual leader was not prepared. What were the key problems? No experience in dealing with such extreme situations. Even knowing that we had this war since 2014, and we had the problems in eastern regions, we somehow did not expect that in 21st century something like this war can happen in this huge scale, can happen in the center of the Europe. And we had no scenarios, but now we know that it's better to plan everything. Even in our particular situation, the day before the war started, we were discussing at our daily meetings what should be the strategy, how should we behave if Russia invades Ukraine. But it was like for just planning for planning, because nobody believed it can happen, and all our plans they did not happened to become true. Everything went wrong, and for us it's a wake-up call that we should prepare for wars. And interesting also that too many life or death tasks at the same time happens in such situation with the leaders, and you are under pressure of such tasks, and that's why you're afraid. Of course, first weeks I had a dark skin, and I tried to meet with my people, but it was not so easy because you didn't know what to tell. You were afraid as a manager to do anything, because maybe some steps can lead to death even. I could not ask my people to leave their homes in Kiev, for example, when Russians were invading Kiev's region. And it's also interesting situation when you think that you know the proper behavior for your people, but you cannot push them for such decisions, because it's a life or death decision. But as leaders, we should be strong. And what I'm talking about now, it's not just the personal experience, because all those days I was in contact with my clients in Ukraine, owners and the CEOs of the companies, and they were asking the same questions. They were in the same situations. And we understood that the main problem for us is the safety of the people. Because of course you need to somehow to work with the problems, economical problems, with the supply, with the delivery, all the processes that you have in your company. But how can you ask your workers to do their job properly when they are in such terrible situation. And this situation is like a privileged situation. Those workers that you can see at this photo, they somehow are protected. We have such clients in such factories like in Kharkiv or Nikopol that are working in the factories with the constant risks of bombing every hour. And unfortunately, some of them are already dead. And I remember this was a really important question from one owner of the 3,000 people factory in Ukraine, who said, Serhill, what Lean suggests in such situation? You were telling us always that Lean is about people, Lean is about protection for people, for safety, all those words that you were saying. What should be the decision? Because the owner was thinking at some point, I think that I should just close this factory and let all people go. And I was asking my colleagues from USA, I have contacted Massachusetts professors who are helping us, and I was asking this particular question. And they said that, frankly speaking, war is war. And if you are protecting your people by giving them money, by giving them workplaces, by supporting your country, you should not stop doing business. You should not stop producing products, even in these terrible situations. And that was the decision. And also our institute, we also decided that we should continue doing our job. We should continue helping our clients for free. And for some period of time, we were just using our reserves, but helping companies with all the ideas, even knowing that the circumstances are not for us in this particular situation. You can see our office in Kharkiv. We have offices within Ukraine in Lviv, Kyiv, Kharkiv, and this is the innovation center. Unit City is one of the biggest in Ukraine. Each day for the workers in this particular office is a nightmare, unfortunately, but people are willing to continue their work. They want some ideas how to survive in this particular situation. They want to work not maybe in the army, but in some economical field, to confront the enemy and to have a victory in the end that we are all expecting. What can be the suggestions at this particular situation? And maybe it could be helpful for you in some other, not military, but other critical circumstances. We understood that companies can be more effective if they split in small groups, in small teams. Actually, it's not some innovative idea because it's like agility, agile, scrum teams working, but it really worked in this particular situation when you had small teams that were working with the small tasks, and they were really successful because they were independent, but with the knowing on main targets of their activities. It's really crucial. And as we now know, and actually so many people describe this success of the Ukrainian army, and there is a very good article in The Economist about the strategy of Ukrainian army. They are also working by small groups on just regular cars. They are coming unexpectedly, destroy the enemy in a couple of hours, and they run away. And through this strategy, fully independent, they are winning the battles against Russians. Also, we understood that smaller goals can help people to be present in the situations. It's like part of the mindfulness style of work and thinking. When you have a bigger goals, like you need to get away from Ukraine, for example, to save your life, it's too complicated for some people, and we know it with our relatives. They are refusing to leave towns and villages that are under fire. But when you give them smaller tasks, you need to go to the bus station, buy a ticket, you should take this, and this, and come first to Kiev. Then we will go to this region, and you will stay in Ukraine in this region, and then you will go to Europe. It's much easier to convince people and to make them feel present in the particular goals that they have. And it also works with the goals for management, for our ideas, small tasks. When it's nightmare is happening, smaller tasks help a lot. Also, as Tetiana mentioned, COVID-19 helped us a lot because we were used to work remotely. We used to work with Zoom. It helped, for example, our company as Lean Institute. Since 2020, we decided that our team will work remotely, and we will just have 2 meetings per day, 15 minutes at the beginning, in the beginning of the day, and 15 minutes in the end of the day, just to say hi. We have such tasks, we have such problems, and then in the end of the day say, bye, it was a pleasure working with you, we have new tasks for the next day. It was a speed of working, it was a regime, routine, it helped us to be present and to know that we are not alone in this particular war and in this particular nightmare. It helped me specifically alone because frankly speaking, first week of the war, it was a disaster, and all the time I was in my iPhone just scrolling the newsfeed about the problems and where the militaries of Russians, how far away they are from my family, from my home. But later on, with these small meetings, and actually for the leadership, it's really important to be always in touch with your people. Small meetings, but frequent meetings. It's really important for them to understand that you are with them. We have what to do, we have tasks, and we are busy, and we feel that we are needed for our tasks, for our company. And actually really help in this particular situation for some companies who had a better behavior with their people in Ukraine in 2020, because now workers, they knew that they can rely on their company. And that was really important. In Ukraine, unlike USA, we did not have any money from the government, any support from the government, unfortunately, because we did not have money as a country. That's why those leaders, those owners, those CEOs who helped their workers, they had the trust of their employees. Those who did not behave properly with their people in COVID era, those had problems and no loyalty from the workers, unfortunately, and they were by themselves with their problems. This was a real situation that we dealt with. I wanted to mention, it was a bit of the personal stories of our situation as the leaders, as the people, but we always had our tasks, and construction is a big portion of our activities in Ukraine, and we always relied on help of the foreign professionals because, frankly speaking, construction designing is not so highly developed, and we always needed this help. And thanks to our mentors, we were somehow prepared for some help to our customers. We managed somehow to work with such problems as the speed of project documentation development, speed of construction works. We helped some companies like UnitFab to develop some processes that are more suitable for this particular situation, and it helped to decrease 50% of lead time of construction of their blocks, buildings, like they called it, to build them quicker and even cheaper, much cheaper than it was before. But frankly speaking, we are working just with the processes. As the lean consultants, we are working with the ways, but we will be really grateful for your advices, for your support with some innovative ideas. Maybe there are some decisions already that can help our clients, our companies, how to do it better. This is our lack of knowledge, because we are working just with waste and processes. As I said, we have our lean instruments, but we need some innovation in these particular ideas, how to do it. For example, our big designing architectural bureau, Balbec Bureau, they have great ideas how to do some villages for refugees from the designing point of view, but the realization, the real construction can be a struggle if you don't have some particular knowledge, particular instruments for innovation, because you can't survive in this war with the same instruments that you had before the war. We were not successful, frankly speaking, in construction before the war. This was compared to the Western world, compared to the USA. And now we need some ideas. That's why it's so important to be in cooperation, in communication with you guys in these particular fields. When I say about this help, I want to say thank you once again to the US government, US people, because there are such great programs like USA who supported the relocation of our clients from the eastern and south region of Ukraine to the safe locations. We are a part of this program. We are partners of USAID in Ukraine, and we have so many stories of our clients running away from the Russian forces just a couple of miles away from Kiev. And for example, this equipment people were trying to bring to the another region of Ukraine with no support of some particular equipment, because everybody was busy. They were out of Kiev. They could not help them. And specifically, just by manpower, they were bringing all the machinery from the factory in Kiev to the Khmelnytsky region. It's a different safe region in Ukraine. We were helping through USAID people with their logic of the new factory layouts. This is really critical because we don't have enough space for new factories, and actually innovative ideas can really help us in this particular situation. For example, we decided that because we don't have enough space for everybody, we will use smaller spaces for the factories. For example, those factories who had 3,000 square meters for at the factory before the war, they were coming to the factories like 1,000 square meters. And how to do it, how to make it in the proper way. We decided that we will do some transformers within the territories that we have. We will use a U-cell shaped factories to have our warehouses of the raw materials and the warehouses of the finished goods in the same place to save some equipment, people, and it worked for us right now. We are widely using this U-shaped cell factories, and we, for example, like our last case, we saved like 41% of the premises due to those ideas of just the logic of the layout. Once again, I'm repeating that it's not due to some innovative ideas. It's just due to process analysis. But maybe with some innovation or some innovation equipment or even innovation in designing, we can do much, much better. This is the example of the process analysis for one factory. On your left, you can see the before factory with some spaghetti diagram showing that all the flows of the materials are going in the wrong direction. But with the help of our process analysis, we created the proper flow in some particular area, and we also decreased the square meters needed for this particular situation. We use some open spaces, some new materials for the walls to make it cheaper, to make it transparent, to make it more agile, to make it easier to change all the time, because everything is changing, the demand is changing. Nobody can predict what can be the demand for your products right now. That's why you can't build regular factories. You need to be creative. I like this idea of transformers within the factories. This shows the main target for your activities. This is our actual factories that we are working with. Also, not spending money for some bricks for the walls, knowing that maybe next day we will just smash those walls and create a new layout that will be more suitable for these particular ideas. And this creativity, we just need always be creative and be ready to change something. And those prototypes with magnets on the dashboard, it's like an easy way of always thinking that we are not building forever. We want to change it as rapidly as possible. And actually,
if I may jump in quickly, again, there's so many good points you're bringing, and this is very valuable. One question, and it's coming from Dean, he's picking on this, the very first point you made about working with small groups, breaking down the work into well-defined small tasks. Seems like it's a big part of the response. Do you see this continuing? Do you see this adapting as the country is looking to rebuild? Do you think that methodology, that approach is going to stay moving ahead? What do you think?
Thank you very much, Dean, for this great question. Actually, it can help us a lot. Why? Because we were struggling for the past months to start some activities in lean construction, some negotiations. And we had the problem that every time that we want to get support from the governmental authorities, when we go to one connected power people in our government, it's always impossible to do something. Why? Because they are busy with some premises that were destroyed yesterday. They are afraid of some invasions in some regions. And when you are telling them about your ideas, you want to help them sincere, but they are busy with these particular greater problems. But when you can go in smaller groups with maybe some local authorities, not working with one guy or one group of people within the government, it can help a lot. Some particular region, Bucha, that suffered a lot from Russians, and so many people lost their houses. Our co-worker, our friend, he left Bucha, and Russians unfortunately decided to stay in his particular apartment, in his building, and they destroyed it. What should we do now? We should not wait for the governmental authorities to help us and to do it like vertically. We should go by small groups, maybe just the city council of Bucha, maybe some group from this region, and we can help them. That's why my answer is yes. We see it as the only way to continue our work. And also with the small groups and small tasks. Because at the beginning, we were planning to do just a lean construction or just construction innovation for the whole Ukraine, something huge. So many people from around the globe should be connected, and it didn't work. Too complicated, so many people with their own problems and so many restrictions. But now I think when we can split our main problems in small tasks, small groups with the people that are responsible for some particular tasks in the nearest weeks, it could be much, much better done. And actually, it was my last slide. This slide, you can see also our friends at the photo in the bottom left. It's our co-workers from the one factory from Nikopol. Those are lean managers. They volunteer to go to fight for Ukraine. And from our point of view, we need somehow to help our country when they are protecting our safety. And this is really important to be always creative, to be innovative, to be more successful with the tasks that we have. We have no opportunities to fail in these particular situations. We need to be successful because we are needed by our friends and people. Thank you for this portion of the presentation, and we are happy to answer any question that you have on any sphere of our activities.
Serhill, thank you so very much, and you, Tetiana, for sharing such intense personal stories as well as the learnings that you're having in the work that you're doing today. It's amazing how you can hold both of these things in such an emotional and physically dangerous time. So I want to really acknowledge that. I guess as I was hearing your presentation today, I was just wondering what we as people halfway around the world might be able to do to support your efforts, either on a daily basis or in some greater way. And you may not have had the chance to think much about that, but I'd be very curious about what we in our community might be able to do to support your efforts.
Thank you, Margie, for such kind words. We were thinking about your proposal, and actually, we really think that some form of knowledge sharing could be the best way of helping us, because we just need some instruments, we need some knowledge, skilled people who can hold the whole situation. That's why some way of program of sharing knowledge between Ukrainian specialists, professionals, and USA professionals could be the great way of helping us because frankly speaking, yes, we are really thankful for the huge support that we receive from the world. And sometimes it's even huge money that are coming to support our refugees and Ukraine in particular. But frankly speaking, we need knowledge, because money can be just spent in some time, but with the knowledge, with those instruments, we can continue our journey and be successful with the particular projects. That's why we were thinking if it could be possible to somehow educate our people, the representatives of our companies, in some way, giving them those instruments to help Ukraine successful.
Thanks, Serhill. If I may build on that, and I'm trying to connect two principles again. Like you said, there's a know-how that you are hoping and seeking. And if I may go back to the lean thinking, go and see, I would love to see us figuring out a way where we can figure out a way to bring a group of Ukrainian architects, engineers, construction people to US and show you what we are doing here. What are some practices in terms of construction practice, in terms of technology, and your takeaway back to Ukraine as you're looking to rebuild the nation in the next decade and beyond. Again, I genuinely like to see that exercise efforts, and I would love to follow up more with this group to see if we can do a go and see and bring it back to Ukraine.
Thank you very much. It would be a great opportunity for us and for our people.
And then just
also,
building on that, yeah, go ahead, Tatiana, go ahead.
Yeah, I also just saw a question that Dean wrote in the chat about the government and design construction leaders to US. The same thing that you just asked, Baris. Yes, I think it will help a lot. The only thing that I'm not sure that if we can get the right people from government. So for now, we didn't find this connection of someone that will really be helpful and not just like visiting and talking. So if we have this connection, of course, it would help a lot. So we are still trying to find it. But yes, people from construction companies and from design companies, they will get huge impact if they can get new knowledges from
this should be our task, to find those relevant people who are keen to get this knowledge, who are desiring to get those instruments and to bring them to Ukraine. And of course, with such opportunity, I think we will be successful for sure.
Excellent point. Again, building on that point, my question is really partly your point about the people, the next generation, and what can we do to safeguard and nurture the architects, engineers, and builders of Ukraine, and knowing that not only in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the East Coast, we have some amazing institutions, universities, colleges. And how can we connect those dots? Again, I think we need to continue that conversation to help the know-how transfer to you all and Ukraine moving forward.
You know, it's so important even to start the conversation, because sometimes you don't know that you have such bright minds, so bright people, young people with such great ideas, until you start the conversation. I'm convinced that if we could notify the Ukrainian community that there is an opportunity, that there is a desire to help you, I think that we can find those people, and we need to start the conversation. And with the first success, there will be a huge story, huge open road to the success for sure. So far, at the beginning, first months, we noticed that people were busy with their problems, and they could not open their eyes for some bigger opportunities, bigger ideas. They were just building small blocks just to stay safe, or just to fix some particular building in particular area. But maybe with such wider thinking and with the opportunities to develop their knowledge, we can think not about the fixing this particular bridge or this particular building, but about some bigger projects, greater idea. That's what we want for sure.
Yep. Question from Zig, and really good, relevant question. And it's about, knowing that resources are limited, knowing that we have to do more with less, to your point. What is your vision for reusing maybe some discarded military equipment? What about reusing the buildings and materials? Any thought given to that, given, again, the resources are limited, similar to your warehouse relayout and things in that nature?
Great question, actually. Frankly speaking, we need to start thinking about this, because it's not the main topic for so many people. But this could be the answer from many specific questions of where to get materials, where to get metal, where to get some particular bricks, for example. But when you start the thinking, analysis, and these ideas, maybe out of the box thinking can come out of Ukraine right now, because now we just give us metal and we should do something with this, or our biggest factories are destroyed and just please send us metal. Maybe we have this metal, maybe we have all those materials, but we need to change the processes. Maybe we should change the logic. But it's a good point. I was not thinking about this, and I'm really thankful, Zygmunt, for this particular question, because it raised a good idea, as I think. Question from Nicholas, yes. Prior to the war, what were the biggest gaps or issues with Ukrainian infrastructure? What areas present the largest opportunities to rebuild in a way that lays the foundation for growth and flexibility in the long term? Frankly speaking, before the war, we just started to filling so many gaps, because for many years we had the problems with the roads, but it was a huge project from our president, big infrastructure, big construction it was called, and so many roads were built in the proper way, with the proper licenses from the European companies to make them durable for the longer period of time. But the biggest problem for Ukraine, as I can state, were the infrastructure, but for the companies. We did not have enough industrial parks, for example, and we did not have the proper logic for industrial parks. We had some, and I helped some of them, but they were poorly designed, and the ideas of those parks were not properly developed, and we all suffered out of that. And actually, war showed us this situation when we needed to relocate companies. We had some industrial parks on the paper, but it was not true. That's why our biggest gaps, I think, many square meters for the industrial purposes, and this should be probably the main first step to start to help us, because I would say frankly that many Ukrainian companies, when they tried to relocate to Europe, they understood that Ukraine is more suitable to do business for them compared to the European countries. We have less restrictions, less problems, less obstacles to do it in a proper way. That's why many Ukrainian companies, they decided to stay in Ukraine. They just need the infrastructure, buildings, everything that is needed for the industrial work within Ukraine.
Great. Before I go to Dean's question, let me jump to Zig, because it's somewhat following the last point, which is, as you are, again, building those partnerships with government and licensing and being able to somewhat relax and stretch the building codes, right? Do you see the government agencies will be more open to do things more creatively to respond to this crisis?
I hope so, but what we face right now, I think that state agencies, like the governmental agencies, they will be the last one to be ready for do such projects. Probably we should go from the middle level of the or bottom level, some even local district authorities with the help of some companies, with the help of some non-governmental institutions. They can start, they can show the success, and then governmental authorities, they will just replicate or support it. Right now, when we meet with them, they're just frightened. You should see their eyes, and they, when we talk with them about some logic of new construction processes, they say, we don't want to hear about this. We are just firefighting, and it's not the metaphor. They're firefighting in real time. That's why my idea is probably to go from this middle level. I don't know if you have in your countries covered this topic that volunteers in Ukraine are the biggest power right now. We are collecting millions of dollars within Ukraine from the Ukrainians to buy helicopters, quadrocopters, or some ammunition, because it's a middle level. We are speedy, we are helpful in all the ways. Probably in this particular area, we also should be more agile and to be more successful. Government, they're adjusting. They're trying their best, for sure. I don't want to blame them once again, because they never experienced such particular situations. But with the middle level authorities and organizations, we will be successful.
Great. Sorry, staying with the topic of rebuild and the workforce be rebuilt. I remember we talked about your partnership or collaboration with TWA. Could you share some of that with the audience, with us?
Yes, actually, this was a great case also. There is such institution in USA. It's called TWI Institute, Training Within Industries. This is the methodology of quick training of people. It was developed after Pearl Harbor, when many men went to war and women had to start doing their job, and they needed a proper methodology to educate people. And it was developed. Now it's called TWI methodology. And this institute, with the headquarters in USA, they proposed to help us. And actually, Tetiana and my other colleagues, they had this training, and it was super successful, super helpful, because now with this relocation of people, training of new people, instead of those who left their homes and factories, this training is super important. And it helped us a lot, this knowledge. It was not like super like hidden somewhere, but we just needed not not just knowledge from YouTube, but we needed trainers, we needed teachers, and they helped us. And we went to fields immediately after the first training. We had trainings with the Ukrainian companies, and it worked for 150%. It was huge success. For example, the trainings for some assembly workers that previously took 7 days. After this TWR training, it took only 8 hours. It was really helpful for our companies, and I'm really thankful for them, as to many companies that are helping us.
Excellent. Let's see. Zik has a few questions, and they're really at the area of supply chain, in terms of, supply chain's been significantly disrupted, and plus it's rebuilding it. You want to say a few more about how are you working with them? What's your assessment, and how they're building up? What's their vision for rebuilding and being up and running?
Frankly speaking, we are working with the supply chain problems right now, and we see that the lean logic of supply chains helps us a lot right now. The lean logic is that you should have those supply chains as short as possible. You should not rely on the cheaper prices from China, from Bangladesh, but you probably should pay more, but take materials from the suppliers that are close to you to make this influence of disruption less influential in your particular situations. And it helped us a lot, those companies who could find some suppliers within Ukraine instead of the cheaper from China and from other locations. Also, suppliers from Eastern Europe. And frankly speaking, what happened? Now we are currently working with different suppliers from the western part of Ukraine, who are still working, who are still successful, due to this idea that European companies, they want Ukrainian suppliers because they are closer and they are more reliable compared to the Chinese suppliers, due to the problems that they also have. The situation Russia-Ukraine showed this particular threat of China-Taiwan, and risks are huge. That's why we are working in this logic, shorter chains, and the logic of making all disruptions within the supply chains less influential, even paying more. This is our main idea, and it helped us a lot, for sure.
One question I have is, again, knowing where we are and knowing what happened last week with the Russians and their escalation, what's your prediction? What do you think is next phase of this war, and what's coming next?
Thank you for this question. Frankly speaking, we are really optimistic because for us, all those actions that are happening in Russia, it's like a signs of their nearest collapse and our victory, because we see exact signals that we are winning. We are getting back our territories, village by village, town by town, and that's why I'm just, of course, I'm not a politician. I'm not a colonel from our army. I don't know any particular information, but I'm talking from the minds of my friends, and this is the position of the society. We are highly optimistic. If you could see our streets right now, We are visiting bars, restaurants. We are trying to support our industry in this particular areas, and nobody is running from Kiev or from other regions. We are not like waiting for the nuclear bomb to come or what should we do. It's totally opposite to our behavior of 24th of February when we were frightened and we were afraid and we were running. Now nobody's running. We believe in our army and we see the signs of success. And it also helps with our projects. People are willing to do projects, to invest their time, their ideas in many different areas. And it's really helpful.
Thanks, Serhill. So again, I'm inspired even more than before. Optimism, positivism, your resilience, your stories, I appreciate tremendously. You all gave me another mission as a construction professional to see what I can do tomorrow, what I can do moving forward for you all. I take that challenge and a mission for myself. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Margie for a closing remark. Thank you all.
Okay. I think I think I just saw a hand pop up from Stuart. Did you want to ask something?
What do you think is the biggest change to how you did design and construction before? And you're just looking for as simple answer as possible. Based on everything, this has been tremendous what I've learned in this conversation, but I'm just curious on what you think, how things were done before, and now we've learned something different that we think is an innovation going forward.
Just say thank you very much for this question. Saying like in a couple of words, it was a waterfall in the worst form of possible, with all the delays, with all those reworks as possible, and it was. Frankly speaking, we had a very bad situation with designing process and later on with the construction process in Ukrainian companies because we were working on so many projects. Now it's more like agile. We don't have time for rework. It's true. We are forced to work in the dedicated groups from the very beginning of the projects. Not to go step by step and just pushing some portions of the work from one role to another. We are working in the groups, and we see this desire to work in these groups from the very beginning, because it was not our choice to work as waterfall just because waterfall is the best. It was just because we thought that it should go. You should prepare the technical description of the project, and only then you should come to us. It should be the best prepared, and I will not accept it. Now it's not such situation. We are happy from the very beginning. Come in one room, start the conversation, and discuss all potential risks, and to go. I would call it agile or something like this, but it's a totally different state of mind, and that's because we have no other choice.
That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you.
So we are at the Center for Innovation in the Design and Construction industry so grateful to Serhill and Tetiana for taking time out of their busy schedule and lives to share their stories with us today. Here in San Francisco, where I live, almost every block has a house with a Ukrainian flag or a handmade sign that says, "We stand with the Ukraine." I would like you to know that although you may not see us every day, we hold your pain, and we too await the end of this war. We thank you for all you do every day. We look forward to supporting your we look forward to supporting your efforts both today and in the future. And we hope to have future conversations to see how we might best support the rebuilding of your nation. Thanks to Bosch for sponsoring today's webinar, and Baris Lostuvali for his excellent moderation of today's panel discussion. And as always, thank you to Katie Olson for keeping us all on track. Tomorrow, please join the Center for Innovation for Day 2 of our Fall Forum when we explore accelerating innovation at the core of a business, the Bosch story. Board member Rebecca Snelling will be in discussion with Dr. Christian Peters and Rafael Franca. Please join us, and thank you again to our friends in the Ukraine.